It finally happened.
What happened?
Pigs are flying. Dogs and cats. I bought...
Wait, you threw the pigs?
Hang on now.
Why would you throw the pigs, Brad? The poor pigs.
I did post some hot pig action on the Discord this morning.
Oh man, I missed that.
People were pleased.
I love pigs.
Go check it out if you're on the Discord. I bought a central processing unit.
But Brad, the AM5 hardware is not available yet. How did you get this?
Shut up. God damn it. This is for my NAS.
Oh.
I bought a Core i5 at 12. Since they went to 5 digits on the model numbers, how do you pronounce 12? Is that how you? That's generally what I say.
That's what I
12,
say.
Even though it sounds ridiculous, 12600.
Okay, it seems like a perfectly cromulent NAS CPU.
It's 12600K actually.
Oh, so you can overclock it.
As a matter of fact, I'm not going to overclock it. It's a long story. I got a good deal on it. I got a very good deal on it.
You should underclock it. Is what I'm saying.
So you don't underclock anymore, do we? Do you want to get into this?
Wait, why don't you underclock anymore?
You don't underclock to save power now. You tweak the PL1, PL2, and tau values.
Oh yeah. No, naturally the tau value.
Of course. Those values are expressed in watts.
You gonna open up that adjustable bar? That's my question.
What's the adjust? Oh God, is that like what replaced the front side bus? I can't remember.
You're not going to because it's a video card thing, so it's not necessary for a NAS.
Oh right, yes,
resizable bar. Sorry, is what Intel calls it.
There won't be a graphics card in that machine, so that certainly does not.
Oh, you're going headless. Did you find a motherboard?
I'm still. Boy, we should save this for the Patreon episode because it's a whole thing.
Okay.
Micro ATX apparently is dying.
Big boards. Nobody wants a big board.
Well, no, they either want the biggest board or the smallest board.
Well, yeah.
That's the thing. The Micro ATX apparently is the bad middle, the squishy middle.
Well, the thing that I'm finding is that you get Micro ATX boards that are like designed for gamers and people who want like 3 cards in their systems. But that's it. Like there's no Micro ATX server boards anymore. There's not like Micro ATX workstation boards or anything like that. It seems like. Like
I literally, again, we should save this. I went on PC Part Picker. Like I need a Micro ATX Z690 board that takes DDR4, not DDR5.
Mm-hmm.
There are 4 of them. There are 4 models that came up on.
Wait, how do they take DDR4 or DDR5? I thought that was a CPU choice.
12th gen Intel can do both.
Oh, I didn't know that.
It just depends on which board you get.
Ooh, that's fancy.
Although, did you know, I found out in the course of researching this stuff, DDR4 and DDR5 are not like electrically compatible. They use the same, it's not a pinout. What do you call those kinds of connectors?
A slot. Yeah,
like they use the same physical slot configuration, but they're electrically, or in terms of signal, they're different. So you can't get a board that does both.
Well, that's always been the case with different DDR standards. The only time you could use both was when you had multiple slots on the board, or in the old days when the north bridge of the memory controller was in the north bridge rather than inside the CPU.
I have this fat stack of DDR4 and it needs to get reused.
Yeah, look at that good memory.
Fat stacks of memory. That's the Tech Pod promise.
Well, that's a title for this week sorted already. Welcome to Brad and Will Made a Tech Pod. I'm Will.
I'm Brad.
Fat stacks, Brad. Fat stacks.
Look, can't have fat stacks of dollar bills and fat stacks of dims. It's the next best thing.
So I bought a stupid emote in Fortnite the other day. And it's me holding a bunch of bananas, making it rain with bananas.
Great.
I would do that with memory, though.
Are you wearing like a gorilla costume as your avatar?
It works with whatever costume you want. It's a universal emote.
But I would hope you were coordinating your aesthetic.
I wish I had a gorilla. I have Captain America and I have Indiana Jones.
I just assume that there is no skin that you can't get and that does not exist in Fortnite at this point. Like they're probably generating them with AI at this point.
It's kind of remarkable. Like I have a hot dog man and he has a little hot dog on his back. So he's like a hot dog carrying a hot dog.
Great. Are you just full-time Fortnite?
I love Fortnite. It's really fucking good, Brad.
When was the last time you played PlayerUnknown's PUBG?
PlayerUnknown's Battlegrounds?
Yes.
The last time I played PlayerUnknown's Battlegrounds, I played off stream a couple weeks ago just to kind of check out the new map.
So you're just a Fortnite streamer now?
I'm since I got sick, I haven't been a streamer at all. So
well, sure, fair.
Because by the end of the day, I just want to go to sleep. But
I did see an awful lot of bearded gamers seeking victory royales popping up in my notifications.
I have not played since May.
PUBG. Holy crap! Wow. I think you've officially put the game down.
I played 5,000 hours, and I think I might be maybe good.
I don't know if you want to get into it. Have your stream numbers changed since
dramatically?
Really?
Yeah.
I wouldn't have. I mean,
they went way down. Nobody wants to watch Fortnite. There's a lot of other people that are good at Fortnite streaming Fortnite.
Oh, I thought
nobody needs to watch me play Fortnite. It turns out.
I thought you meant they went the other direction.
No, that would have been cool. That would have been nice. So the audience has changed a little bit because some people, I've gotten new people coming in, but like it's starting to grow back again. But it was a cut in half on. I went from like an average of one. I mean, PUBG had been kind of in decline too, so I wasn't getting like. I mean, you know how streams work. You get like your regulars, and then you have also people that come in because they see you playing the game, and you're like near the top of the list, and then you look interesting. And like most of the people who watch somebody who looks like me are looking for like geriatric gamers, or they're strangely into beards.
Your beard is turning gray, actually, a little bit more than previously.
Dude, I looked at a picture from when my daughter was born, and it used to be all red with like 3 white hairs in there. Mm-hmm. It's white, by the way, not gray. Thank you.
Okay. Much more distinguished.
Going Santa Claus. Yeah.
Yes, of course.
Ho, 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 motherfuckers.
It's a questions episode.
We're turning Q's into A's. If you would like to know if people wanted to submit Q's, how can they do that, Brad? Do we have some sort of electronic communique?
Carrier pigeon, smoke signal.
Yeah.
Telegraph.
Okay.
Also, the question seeking answers channel on the Discord or our illustrious inbox.
Yes. You mean techpod@content.town?
I do mean techpod@content.town.
I want a hydrophone.
What is a hydrophone?
A hydrophone is like a phone that submarines use to talk to each other. It like uses sonar to make telephones.
Oh man, it's like submarine month on the Next Lander Watchcast. I just saw The Hunt for Red October for the first time ever.
Holy shit. How have you never watched Hunt for Red October?
Dude, there's a lot of movies I have never watched.
Well, okay.
The movie's pretty good.
Have you talked about it yet?
Yeah, we already did it. We recorded it. It will be up next week.
Have you watched Crimson Tide yet?
No, that's next on the list.
What about U571?
That one didn't make the cut.
It kind of sucks.
Oh, does it?
I mean, it's Keith David or David Keith. I never can remember which one.
Who's David Keith?
Well, there's David Keith and Keith David. They're both actors.
Wait, hang on. John Bon Jovi is in that movie?
Yeah, but okay. So it's a fictionalized story of a thing that really happened, but they did a shit job because they didn't do the things that are actually interesting about the actual true story.
I see.
Are you going to watch Das Boot? That's the real question.
Oh, you mean Das Boot? I can't wait for that episode. I can't wait for that episode because I am only going to say Das Boot, and I'm sure people are going to get mad about it.
It is wrong. Wow, that's a real preview. It is maybe the most tense movie. So then are you going to finish this all off by watching Wrath of Khan? That's the real question.
I actually made a Wrath of Khan comparison in the Hunt for Red October episode. Yeah, the order is Red October, Crimson Tide, Das Boot.
Okay. You should also watch Run Silent, Run Deep. There's some really good submarine movies from like the 50s, 40s.
Run Silent, Run Deep.
Run Silent, Run Deep, I think is Cary Grant. I can't remember. It's a World War II era propaganda movie.
Oh,
and it establishes the genre, basically, of modern submarine movie.
Oh, wow. That is, yes. Clark Gable and Burt Lancaster. I got to look that up.
You should watch that before you watch Das Boot because it like Das Boot is the modern reimagining of this thing that was established in the 40s.
Huh.
And yeah, anyway, I like submarine movies a lot.
Is Das Boot is World War II era? Is it literally U-boat?
Das Boot is about a World War II.
I shouldn't look it up.
It is about a German U-boat captain and like one tour of a German U-boat, I believe.
Okay, it is a U-boat. Yeah. Okay, I will read no more about that movie before I watch it. What about K-19 The Widowmaker?
K-19 The Widowmaker is the only. It's fine. Like that's fine. A true story. It's a fictionalized version of a true story. It's about Soviet excess.
Oh, okay.
Harrison Ford does a really terrible Russian accent through sporadically throughout that movie.
Does he play? He plays a Soviet.
He plays the Soviet captain. I think. I can't remember.
I can't believe they went with the accent. Like that's the thing. Like watching Chernobyl came out a few years ago. I watched that. Like we just watched Red October. Like it's an interesting question of, do you go for the bad fake accent to try to remind people that you're actually listening to people speak Russian, although not, or do you just play it straight? And I can't believe that Harrison Ford is doing the bad accent.
So it's one of those things that struck me because like it was unusual in the 90s to have movies with subtitles that were like mass market movies, even if there was like a character speaking a different language. Like it was unusual that they would have like that thing that happens in Hunt for October where Sam Neill and Sean Connery are speaking in Russian for the beginning part of the movie. And then like 2 scenes in, they switch to accented English.
Dude, that zoom. Do you remember the zoom?
Oh, it's like that movie is stupendous.
Just tight zoom on the dude's mouth as he switches from Russian to English seamlessly. And then, well, and then the other thing about that, the book that movie is based on, the Tom Clancy book, we've talked about it in the show before, has one of my favorite, like, hey, something's going wrong. I'm going to explain some highly techno like shit in a way that is understandable to almost anyone. And it's going to tell this incredibly dramatic story of what's happening within 0.3 of a second as the Alpha's reactor is blowing up. It's a stupendous. I love that. I love submarine movies. Anyway, we should answer some questions. We should turn some Q's into A's. We should send us questions for our forthcoming submarine spinoff podcast.
Yeah. All submarines.
But in the meantime, shall I start?
Yeah, we had a cornucopia of riches. I think we're going to have to do a patron episode this month that is more questions. We had so many good questions.
Yes, I think in addition to me talking about buying hardware, we'll do some questions on the patron episode because there's a lot here.
Yes.
Question from the Discord. LDEJ is the username. Unless that's a capital I, how would I know?
It's impossible to know.
I'm going to type, in this Google Docs font, I typed a capital I and a lowercase l right next to each other, and they are indistinguishable.
I think that was a gel.
Okay, let's go with that. You both seem to have and enjoy bidets.
Oh, yeah, I do.
What kind or brand do you have, or what brand would you suggest for a first-timer? I think it's a Brondell.
I believe we were forced to buy a Brondell because they're the only ones that make a left-hander.
Oh, okay. Wait, are you left-handed or is your wife?
No, but the toilet is too close to the vanity on the right side.
Oh, I see.
So there was no clearance for the little control panel for the manual bidets.
Got it. I just got a Brondell because it was at the nexus of cheap and a lot of good user reviews.
Yep.
So no specific attachment to them other than that it was fine. I bought another one for my parents last time I went home and it was down to like $30. So it's like pretty low cost of entry.
Yeah. The left-handed one was a little bit more expensive because they only make, I assume they have to, they make molds and stuff for them. The thing, we bought one that has like hot and cold and dual nozzles and all sorts of bullshit. And no one in the house uses. Well, first off, I never plumbed the hot because it was a pain in the ass. The dual position thing, nobody in the uses regardless of their anatomy. So, and the cold water is refreshing. I don't need I find the need for hot water to be non-existent.
Yes.
The only thing I would say is make sure you get one that uses metal fittings for the attachments because you don't want the plastic fittings because the risk of failure is higher.
Leaks are bad.
Leaks are bad.
I can tell you.
I think if I had been able to take a right-handed one, I would have bought the Tushy that has the thing that has like the little joystick that you can aim with.
Oh wow! Tushy advertised on some of the Giant Bomb podcasts. I never got my hands on one of those, but wow,
yeah,
you can aim. That sounds dangerous.
Well, it's like forward and back. It's like a little lever that tilts.
Still,
yeah,
aiming a jet of water in that direction that you can't actually see.
I think you can tell where it's going, Brad.
Has some potential for yeah. Okay. Question from Mustard Facial. How many empty coffee cups on your desk is too many coffee cups? My baseline is 2. 0.
Yeah, I clear the food waste off the desk at the end of basically every time I stand up and walk to the kitchen.
Yes, I thought you were going to say at the end of every day, and even that is too much for me.
That's the absolute worst. And that only happens when I don't get up during the day and Gina brings me food or whatever.
Yeah. If I have like an empty bowl or something in here after like 30 minutes is about my max before I start getting real antsy that like, I need to get this dish out of here.
Yeah.
The only coffee cup is the active coffee cup.
I remember I used to work with some people that would make stacks of like Diet Coke or Coke Zero cans or whatever by their desk. And it gave me the fucking hives.
Dude, we used to work with someone who allowed straight up like dirty bowls and forks and other such implements to accumulate for days at their desk. And I don't know that I want to put them on blast, although I think that people probably know.
There were multiple people that we worked with that did that.
Fair.
It was that. Look, I'm going to tell you that basement was gross for a handful of good reasons and a multitude of not good reasons.
Right. Like the mold, the dampness problem, not really in our control. The personal cleanliness issue maybe could have.
It was a lot.
Stood some improvements.
I mean, look, I can't complain. I had a box of Twinkies that sat beside me for about 6 months. So they were sealed mostly.
Yeah. Also, Twinkies aren't food.
Fair.
Twinkies are not organic. I'll let you just bop over to the email inbox here in a second. How about authentic sporks from the Discord?
Okay.
Where did the where in software and hardware come from? I didn't look this up. I've always just assumed it was the same as like the old traditional use of the word wares as in things that you sell.
Huh.
Is that your understanding?
I assumed you had an answer for this since you picked this question.
I figured you would know. I just always count on you to know things like this.
No, I have no idea. I'm really curious. I kind of want to. I'm tempted to reach out to some linguists and see what they feel like is the answer, because I have no idea. Yeah.
Here's an answer from Computer Hope, who I'd never used the site before until we did our 1997 episode last week.
Yeah.
And they had an amazing timeline of computing things in 1990, like broken out by year, basically. They seem pretty cool. In general, a ware or wares is a product or tool. So yeah, I think it's basically what I said. With computers, ware is often a suffix that's used in conjunction with another word. Blah, 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 blah. But yes, like think about like an old timey, I don't know, traveling salesman peddling his wares. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's that. I think it's that. Pretty sure it's that. Warehouse. Right? Isn't that the same root?
Yeah, I think so.
I assume that's the same root as well. Warehouse.
I'm reading a Wikipedia page right now about the history of this, and yeah, I don't.
We should do an episode about like the etymology of computer terms, because stuff like booting, for example, like have you ever thought about how just accepted the word boot is for start a computer and then if you backtrack to where that came from, it's like a really strange origin, are you familiar with that whole thing?
Yeah, no, I used to work for Boot magazine. Right. Or the magazine that was Boot. I never actually worked for Boot. Yeah, I think this is an interesting topic. I think we should dig in deeper to this.
Boot comes from bootstrapping.
Yeah.
Like if you ever look into like I was reading about UEFI, which we've been meaning to do a UEFI episode for a long time. Also, did you see that security advisory about UEFI kit stuff?
Yeah.
Which seems real bad.
That seems like a problem and difficult to fix at the scale at which it will need to be fixed, because motherboard manufacturers never like to update BIOSes for old boards.
Right. Especially because they didn't publish the infection vector in that report. They didn't actually say, here's how you might have gotten one of these.
Oh, Jesus. I didn't know that.
A lot of people are speculating that you would need physical access to the computer to install it. So that would be
my assumption, but maybe not.
Probably reassuring for some people. So yeah, if you look into the boot process, like what goes on at the BIOS or UEFI level into the OS boot, like that's classically referred to as bootstrapping, which I assume just got shortened to boot at some point.
Yeah, that
comes from Baron Munchausen.
By pulling yourself up from your bootstraps?
Yes, it's that like image of a guy lifting himself out of a hole or out of quicksand or whatever it is by pulling his own bootstraps, which like
you can't do.
Is self-evidently absurd, but that's where the term
I didn't know that
bootstrap came from.
I didn't know that was a Munchausen thing.
Yeah.
Anyway. Yeah.
Did we answer the question? We did. Okay.
I mean,
want to take an email?
I would put an asterisk on that answer, I think. I don't know if that counts as a Q that was turned into an A. That was a Q that was turned into a bunch of more Qs.
What else would it mean?
Well, I mean, I think let's get a linguist. If anybody knows a computer linguistics podcast, please introduce them to us and we'll have them on as a guest.
That would be super fun.
Yeah.
Hardware
Yeah.
It's a wear that is physically tangible or hard.
Yeah, I know. I just want to go down this list of like, what are all the weird computer terms that are like, why was a floppy disk not floppy?
Well, it's because isn't it? I assume it's because the actual magnetic.
It's because it was inside a case usually. Yeah,
is literally floppy. Anyway,
my glasses are foul.
We should do an episode about cleaning your glasses. No. I mean, it is a constant problem for me. I don't know about you.
My long, luscious eyelashes constantly touch the inside of the lenses, and it makes them filthy and horrible.
I used to be a shirt cleaner.
Oh no, you can't do that.
Why not?
Because it'll scratch your lenses, depending on what your material's made of. If you have polyester in your shirt, it'll scratch your plastic lenses, your polycarb lenses.
100% cotton or nothing.
Well, I need a little bit of Lycra in there to get that good stretch on the guttural region.
You said that there was a sardine question.
There is a sardine question. It's the bottom of the emails section. And it is, Mikey says, I bought some of those sardines from Costco based on Brad's raving about them a few ages ago. What's so special about them? They're nice, but they taste exactly the same as the bog standard ones I can get from Tesco for 40 pence a tin. Brad is a tin-fished Philistine. I'm actually eating some sardines right now with mayo and hot sauce on a crimpet. I don't know what a crimpet is.
Fucking nobody who eats something called a crimpet is going to come in here and call me a Philistine.
It's God delicious. Bye. Sorry, Will. Nothing in this email for you apart from praise for being a nice guy, as far as I can tell. Thanks, Mikey.
I don't think I ever claimed that they're like,
I thought you just said they were cheap.
Yeah, compared to what you can get around here in San Francisco.
Oh, yes. Sardines, the San Francisco treat.
Perhaps you've heard of our famous highest cost of living in the United States.
Did you have raining anchovies the other day?
I'm sorry?
Did you not hear about the anchovy rain in San Francisco?
No.
So there's a huge anchovy boom in the Bay right now. And the seagulls are such greedy bastards that they're picking out the anchovies and then they're too full to swallow them. So they just fly around and let them drop from their mouths.
Oh, wow.
So there's anchovies raining all over the marina and like Richmond and the outer Sunset.
Look, I mean, clearly I don't have the highest sardine standards, but I don't think I would eat a secondhand sardine dropped from a seagull's mouth, personally.
I mean,
those sardines are fine. They're fine. They're cheap.
I'm going to ask again.
They're like,
there we go.
They're like half the price of what they cost at the store here.
Yeah, you're buying bulk.
Yeah. We actually just bought another case.
Wow, you guys
another 60. You know why?
Why?
I mean, you
can have them. In case hard rain comes.
I'm looking in the hall. Like there's just a cost. We haven't even opened the shipping box yet.
Wow,
it's sitting there. But it's not like we ate all 66 cans of sardines.
Mm-hmm.
It's more that we lost track of them.
Oh no. You think you're going to find cans of sardines when you move out of that apartment?
That's entirely possible. I mean, again, San Francisco. This came up on the Discord this very morning. You know how small apartments are around here.
Yeah. No, houses are small. Apartments are worse.
Right. Like we didn't exactly have one spot we could put all 66 cans. So they kind of they became diffused throughout the kitchen.
You need a list that tracks the positions.
They were in little like 6 units, kind of individually wrapped.
Yeah,
things.
Brick.
So those, yes, bricks of sardines got distributed around the kitchen.
Wow.
And some of those bricks may have gone AWOL.
This is like how environmental storytelling in open world games happens. Somebody will come in 10 years from now after the end times and they'll loot your apartment and be like, hell yeah, these sardine hoarders, what are these things? And they'll be like, it'll be the best moment of their life from that point on.
I want to say those things are like $3 a can around here.
Wow, really?
Or $2.50 or something. They're a lot.
If you buy them at the Safeway or whatever.
Everything is very expensive here.
Yeah, we should move.
Like before around the time we stopped working downtown. When you remember, do you know Mixed Greens?
Yeah,
like really nice.
Yeah,
high-end,
make your own salad joint.
Hot salad place. Their salads were pushing $20.
Holy crap!
They were like 15, 16. For a nice salad at that place. I mean, granted, that's like a downtown eatery lunch spot, but like that just to put it in perspective.
I remember one time after recording a bombcast, I walked over and got a sushi Rito on my way back to the train, and that thing was $20.
Mm-hmm.
And it was not $20 worth of sushi Rito.
No,
I was sad. I should have had 2. I needed two of the $20 sushi burritos.
We basically don't eat out anymore. Like food prices, particularly eating out prices, have just gotten completely out of control.
Well, I was going to say, that's the crazy thing about coming down here is everything's like normal America prices down here.
Man.
I mean, okay, it's not normal American prices. It's still expensive, but it's more, it's much more manageable. Although like, like we don't eat a ton of fast food, and I was shocked at how much like a few burgers for the fam were on the drive down. Cause like that stuff has gotten a lot more expensive. Cause it was like, it's gone from like $25 to $35 for three of us to eat now.
Yep.
If we don't get just the basic cheeseburger or whatever.
Yes. I started to break down like what a decent large pizza would cost you to get delivered around here.
Probably $40, right?
I was going to say like 40 minimum, unless you're doing just like the baseline cheese.
We have a place that makes a really good cheese pizza that you can get it for like $25 still in Pacifica. But that's a pickup. They don't do delivery at all.
This is depressing. Let's move on.
Yeah.
How about an email from Tom Arndt?
Oh, Tamarn.
Sorry, this is a Discord question, not an email.
Wow.
What piece of consumer? Yes. What piece of consumer technology of today do you guys think will be super, super collectible by retro tech nerds in 20 years? Like fancy PC sound cards of the 90s or rare Nintendo 64 game cartridges are today. Kind of thing that makes people go, oh, damn, if I had known, I wouldn't have gotten rid of mine.
It's a hard question to answer this.
Yeah, I'm trying to think if that's even going to continue to be a phenomenon, because it feels like tech is so ubiquitous now compared to then.
Well, so I think that there's two different things that happen here. And this is something we've talked to a friend of the show, Steve Lynn, about kind of a lot over the years. But the N64 cartridges, there's always a cycle with video game stuff where for a little bit after it becomes obsolete, it's really, really cheap. And then as the people who grew up with that start to have money and want to buy back their childhood memories, the prices start going up again. And then after that, it becomes actually collectible because they're rare at the end of that nostalgia cycle. So like that happened with the NES stuff in the 90s, in the late 90s. It happened with the N64 fairly recently because the kids who grew up playing N64s in like the late 90s, early 2000s are turning 35 or 40 now. That is pretty predictable. And like anything that is rare, anything that they don't make a bazillion of and was actually rare out of those cycles, like physical media for Xbox 360 is probably for like, I would bet a copy of 2 Human is probably actually worth something now.
Are you sure about that?
I don't know. They recalled it. It's a whole thing.
Wait, did they?
Yeah.
Did I forget about that?
Yeah. It got pulled back.
Why?
Because of the lawsuit or something. I can't remember.
Oh, the Epic lawsuit.
Yeah.
Right. Gosh, oh my God, you're right. Court orders Silicon Knights to recall and to destroy 2 Human.
Yes. Huh. So
wow. Hang on, I got to look at my shelf.
I have 2 copies.
Sealed?
One sealed, one played.
Okay.
I like that game. It's okay.
Probably worth hanging on to. Hey, look, the rest of the trilogy is going to happen any day now.
Yeah, I was right on the Dennis Dyax, getting right on it. The hardware is different because like old hardware is valueless except for to collectors, right? Like if you like, the only reason you want a 3DFX card is if you want it for like to put on your shelf, or if you really want to play some old Glide games. And I don't know that there's an easy way to play Glide games other than having an actual card in a system.
Well, you may still be right. I've been on the cusp of getting into 86 box for a while now, and I think that thing has got pretty good emulation options for some stuff of that nature. But
I was gonna say that like that's the one exception is like the new, like DOSBox doesn't do that stuff, but some of the newer emulators will, and I assume at some point like the FPGA stuff will get to that point too.
Like I love old hardware from a conceptual standpoint. Like I found my original Voodoo 1 in my parents' basement a few weeks ago, and it was exciting to look at and stuff. But like, the thing that actually makes me excited these days is new methods of recreating old stuff, like the Mister or 86 box, stuff like that. Like, or even these little embedded 486s that are still being made, like at SOCs, like new recreations of old stuff in like smaller form factors or that aren't even physically existent, like that's all in software. Like, ways to do the same thing more efficiently or in a more tidy way are much more exciting to me.
But like anything that they make a billion of isn't going to be worth anything, right? Like there's not going to be a collectible iPhone 13. You know, I think like your like last iPods and stuff like that. People are starting to do the thing where they mod the iPods and put an SSD in a classic iPod.
Yeah, a friend of the pod, Wes Fendlin, reached out recently. He did that exact thing. We should
have him on to talk about it. Those are really cool.
We should talk to him about it.
But yeah, so like I think like I haven't actually gotten rid of the VR dev kit hardware that I have. I think some of the early gen VR hardware maybe is going to end up being a little bit collectible, but I think it'll not be for nostalgia, but because there actually just weren't very many of those pieces of hardware made.
Right. Or historical curiosity.
Yeah.
Do you want to take this pair of work from home questions?
Yeah, I thought those were actually a good pairing.
They actually happen to get asked right next to each other. I'll just read them both, even though they're slightly different. From Fernando. In the new age of teleworking, what tips do you have to reduce room echo and reverb, as well as background noise? I'm in a home office that doubles as a VR game room with minimal furniture, and my work computer doesn't allow me to install things like NVIDIA Broadcast. And then, come on, Google Docs. I hit the key and it jumped. From Mr. Spectre, I was wondering, I'm now 18 months into working from home, and as I will now be working from home for the foreseeable future, I am looking at how I can keep it tight. What do you both like and dislike about working from home, and do you have any top tips or tech for a noob looking to stay healthy and time manage? You want to take the reverb echo one is probably a lot easier to address.
Kind of, yeah. Like the NVIDIA Broadcast stuff is kind of magical. The other option is to get a better microphone, like a tighter pattern, a microphone with a tighter pattern. So you can get stick-on mics that are like, they're called Mod mic. Mod Mics makes one. Logitech makes one on the Blue Line that's just like a glue-on microphone you can stick on the side of your headphones. It'll be a boom. Shure makes them, but they require XLR inputs, and they'll have tighter super cardioid patterns that you have to put the microphone right up on your mouth, and that will help with room echo. The other thing you can do, there's a ton of guides on Instructables about how to make audio baffling cheap.
Yeah, that's the other one that I was going to mention, although that's kind of a commitment. I mean, that's like an aesthetic commitment as well as the work of putting it up, because like it's going to kind of dominate the look of the room a little bit.
Well, so the thing I find, I have them behind my monitors, and I found that it doesn't really, because it's behind stuff that blocks the entirety of your view.
Sure, so, that's fair. Also, like honestly, I think like well-mounted baffling that's intelligently laid out actually can look kind of nice.
Yeah, if you make it look okay, if you do a nice job on it, it looks pretty okay. The other thing is corners are bad. So if you want to do the janky thing, you can just take some like cheap foam eggshell and tack it up into the corners of the room, and that will help more than anything else probably. The other big one is if you have hardwood, putting a throw rug down will make a big impact just out of the gate.
Sure. Okay. The more general question, what do we like and dislike about working from home, and do we have any tips? Gosh, I'm well into, you've been doing it forever.
I've been doing it since 2015. Yeah.
God, I'm only about 2 years and change in.
I love that I was at home for the majority of my daughter's childhood.
Yeah, that sounds like it's very common for parents who work from home.
Yeah, like it meant that I was here. Well, it meant that I was able to help Gina with stuff when like she was overwhelmed or just needed a break a little bit when she was young. It means that like if she's like, "Hey, Dad, can you play a game of Fortnite at 4:00?" Then I'm here and I can do it, and that's awesome. Like the danger is when like you don't. When your work hours and your not work hours bleed into each other.
Yeah. So yeah, the first thing I was going to say I like, or especially early on when we first went to work from home, was the flexibility.
Yeah.
Because like I was even when we were going into an office, I was still like spending time going through my inbox and other work related stuff before I went in anyway. So like removing the commute and just kind of like, reducing that overhead basically.
Getting that nice, commute time back is huge.
Right. It was nice. But then, like you said, yes, then work can tend to just bleed through into all of your time, especially when you're sitting at the same place all day long.
Yeah. I was going to say, if you only have like having a dedicated space for work that is not also your dedicated space for like playing games or whatever is important if that's practical. That helps.
Yeah. Although like in my case, I mean your case as well, like we don't have room for 2 desks, And like before, when I was still in an office, I spent a ton of time, like recreational time at this desk, just doing computer stuff. But now that's also where work happens, and that can be less than great.
It's a lot sometimes. I have a friend who lived in a 1-bedroom apartment for the entirety of the pandemic, and so his bedroom and his office were the same place. And like the quality of life improvement he's had by moving to a 2-bedroom apartment where he can have like his even separating the sleep area and the work/play area out has been hugely important and really good. Sure.
The thing that 2+ years in, actually, at this point, the thing that's getting to me the most is like it's a combination of not having a reason to leave the house and not seeing people anymore.
Yeah.
Granted, there's still COVID stuff to worry about, but like I see one person face to face on a regular basis.
You guys need to come down we need to barbecue when we're back in town, because like I would love to see you in person.
We should do that. Enjoy the fine Bay Area.
Yeah,
summer.
the fog summer.
Get out in the gloom.
Taking walks is super important.
Yes.
Like I fell out of that habit for a while, and like my mental state declined dramatically.
And physical state, I'm sure.
Physical state's always low.
He mentioned he's looking for tips to stay healthy is one of the things he said, so I'm sure that's a concern.
Yeah, but
I think we've mentioned it before. Like, I did not realize how much kind of passive exercise I was getting out of my commute every day until I stopped doing it.
Yeah.
And then like 6 months after work from home started, I was like winded walking up a flight of stairs, and I was like, oh wow, I'm not like getting any kind of cardiovascular workout at all.
Just walking 3 blocks, it turns out, is pretty good for you.
Yeah. Yeah. So like, if it works for you, like something that tracks your steps is pretty good. Like I've been setting a baseline, like I need to walk 5,000 steps a day.
Mm-hmm.
And like that helps. Just some kind of metric to strive for helps you kind of stay on track.
The other thing I like is, because I'm at home, I tend to eat less garbage for lunch. Like I don't go out for lunch as much, stuff like that. And I think when we come back from this trip, it's one of the things we've been talking about, because I've been enjoying like hopping in the pool or swimming in the afternoon or whatever. And I think I'm going to start trying to like go on a lunchtime walk where I either eat my sandwich while I'm walking or wow,
quite a scene.
Well, or just like, go for a walk and then come back and snarf the sandwich when I'm back, or whatever.
Or like take it to a bench. You can sit down and eat the sandwich, and that makes more sense.
Yeah, I could be a bench guy.
Sure.
Always wanted to be a bench guy.
Benches are pretty cool. And like the last thing I'll say, like I've been trying to do better at this too, is like find some really basic quick exercises that you can do in like 3 to 5 minutes.
Like butt clenches.
Yeah, sure.
I'm doing them right now.
Like whatever works.
Got to get toned.
But like that's, like the research on that stuff is crazy. Like when you look at the longevity benefits to just even like a few like single digit minutes of walking 3 or 4 times a day are kind of crazy.
The New York Times, I mean, it's a thing now, but there was that 7-minute workout that is like the New York Times thing. I do that on the reg. Like if I'm honestly, when I'm sitting there and I'm like, oh man, my ass is asleep. It's like, that's the sign that I need to get up and do something. And I'll do like 7 minutes of jumping jacks and lunges and squat thrusts and stuff like that.
Yeah. Yeah. It helps me to tell myself like, this doesn't have to be 30 minutes. It doesn't have to be an hour. Like I don't have to be dripping sweat at the end for this to be valuable. Like, 5 minutes of some leg exercises is super valuable.
Also, going on a walk is nice. It's nice. It's hard during the winter when it starts to get dark earlier. That's the when I have the problem, because I don't like getting up early in the morning and yeah. Anyway.
Yeah, that one's rough around here. Like my partner in the winter, my partner is gone before the sun comes up, before I wake up, and then doesn't get home until after it's dark. And it's like, that's not great for like time outside and stuff. But anyway.
We used to, I used to do like VR stuff like Beat Saber and Pistol Whip and stuff like that during the winter. And then I stopped, and maybe I'll do that again this winter.
Yeah, that's a good one. That sounds fun. Let's see. A couple of quick tech questions that I super didn't look up the answers for.
Oh, cool.
Time to speculate. Question from Lebkin. Why do modern video cards seem to favor DisplayPort over other connector options? Is there a technological advantage? My video card has 3 display ports and only 1 HDMI. I've never owned any DisplayPort capable displays, monitors, or TVs. I had thought for a long time that it was an also ran against HDMI like FireWire was to USB, but clearly it's still a winner to lots of people.
DisplayPort has more bandwidth.
Yes. Until recently. Like I believe that changed finally with HDMI 2.1, but for a long time, what's the DisplayPort
1.4 supports 32.4 gigabits with HDR.
Yeah.
So it's 8K resolutions at 60 hertz or higher refresh rates with lower resolutions.
Yeah, so essentially for a long time, the newest DisplayPort was just more capable than the newest HDMI. I'm guessing he's probably got an older monitor because most new monitors that I've seen when I looked around at them were like 2 DisplayPort to 1 HDMI, stuff like that.
Yeah. So HDMI 2.1, the more recent version, is up to 48 gigabits. Yeah. It does support like home theater type stuff. It has EAC, the audio return channel, the remote control stuff. The TLDR is that also I don't think DisplayPort supports the HDCP type DRM, but it's not like a home theater spec is the idea.
Yeah. I believe DisplayPort 2.0 just got published in the last couple of years or something. But now that HDMI, like I feel like HDMI is definitely more common across like AV home theater stuff. I wonder if DisplayPort is going to claw any real estate back, or if we're just kind of on HDMI from now on.
My assumption is that outside of like 8K TVs, we'll see HDMI on TVs and DisplayPort on monitors for forever and ever and ever.
That's my good Lord. DisplayPort 2.0 pushes 77.4 gigabits per second.
Excuse me.
Bless you. I guess, presumably 4K at much higher refresh is going to be a thing in the next 5-10 years. So we'll probably need DisplayPort for that.
Yeah, I'm skeptical that we'll have consumer console type hardware that makes that worth having, but
yeah, you're probably right. Okay. What was my next text question? Runner Maddie asks, is there any reason not to completely fill up a hard drive? I always seem to keep 10% free space minimum, aside from C drives, which obviously need space for installs, etc. I think it probably depends on the file system to some degree.
Well, yeah, like if you're talking about ZFS, keeping it too full dramatically increases the CPU and memory overhead.
And also performance, like it'll bust down its performance but that's an edge case. Like ZFS has a bunch of metadata that kind of exists invisibly on the drive with the actual data, and that's why you need extra space.
Yeah. Windows behaves really weirdly if you fill up your C drive. Like 9 times out of 10, if my computer is acting weird, it's because I've messed up somewhere and it's the 20 terabyte video, or not a 20 terabyte, but a massive video that I left on a hard drive someplace. Sure. I started to say like keep your C drive somewhat empty for swap, but swap is like blocked out ahead of time, fixed,
right?
Yeah. So I don't like the reason to keep the C drive free is that Windows uses C drive for all sorts of, like Windows and applications use C drive for weird stuff. And if it can't find space for that, weird things happen. Like Adobe uses your C drive usually for media swap, for scratch disk rather. Windows saves all sorts of temp files there. And if you get to the point that those temp files don't have room, Windows gets slow for inexplicable reasons. I don't think there's a reason to keep things less than 10% unless you want to. Like if you have a game that's like I have a SSD that's just games that's like, I don't know, it's probably pretty full. Yeah,
do you think NTFS is ever going away?
There are multiple times I've wished that there was a better file system for Windows and Mac recently. I think
Microsoft has felt the same way apparently. Considering their attempts to replace it over the years.
Yeah, I don't know that anybody. I don't know that the cost of changing that from a like backwards compatibility and user hassle support is worth the pain for most people. But yeah,
what was the Longhorn?
Longhorn had the WinDB, which was basically the idea was they're going to put the whole file system in a database, which was also a bad idea for completely predictable reasons.
Right. And that never came to pass. I mean, Microsoft has a newer file system, ReFS, resilient file system, but it's mostly available in the like workstation and server tier.
Yeah.
Windows is.
Yeah.
Probably don't need to get into it. I think ReFS might be copy on write, which is like what kind of the next generation file systems are. But anyway.
Yeah, my assumption is that, I mean, the speculation is that Windows 11 is kind of a tweener OS that bridges between Windows 10 and whatever the next gen Windows is going to be, which supports more modern stuff.
Yeah, I don't know if we should, probably not time for another Windows episode yet, but did you see this stuff going around that Microsoft is looking to move to a more Mac OS like release cadence with like yearly updates, and like essentially Windows 12 is not that far off. Like they're looking to iterate the version number much more rapidly.
I mean, it's on one hand, I'm kind of annoyed because when they launched Windows 10, they were like, this is the Windows forever. On the other hand, do you think that there's anybody that looks and is like, oh man, Mac OS is on 11 now. You think I only have Windows 10. Do you think my Windows sucks because it's only a 10 and not an 11? I can't imagine there's anybody that thinks that.
It's also dumb, but I mean, remember the name Xbox 360 came about because Sony was launching a console called PlayStation 3.
Yeah, no, I know. But at
the same time, I was kind of annoyed when Apple pushed to macOS 11. It's like, just leave it alone. Like macOS 10, Windows 10, like just leave it. Who cares? But I mean, I guess there is, when there's a change as big as Windows 11, it's probably value in rebranding to that extent, just to like drive home the message that like, hey, this is pretty substantially different.
Well, I would expect some sort of core underlying technology change, like OS 11 is basically moving from x86 to M1s to their ARM SoCs.
Oh, is that when they made the change?
Yeah.
Oh, interesting.
I mean, I assume that there's I don't actually know. I assume that there's x86 versions of OS 11, but that was when they launched the M1 Max.
Yeah, you can still get even the very current. Are they on 12 now?
I don't have any idea.
That's right, isn't it?
Ventura is the next one.
12. Monterey is 12. Yes. Yeah. You still get x86 versions of the very newest.
Yeah. So
it'll probably be a while before they stop offering those,
I would assume. So I don't know. Who knows? It's impossible to say.
Yeah.
I want new file systems though.
Yeah. Shall I keep? God, don't get me started.
Yeah, I know you. I know. Look, we could do an entire side podcast. It's just us talking about different file systems.
I mean, maybe this will be patron episode material, but like that. So I have to move to Linux. My NAS is going to have to move to Linux because the newer Intel CPUs with the hybrid architecture that have the big and little cores, that is completely not supported in FreeBSD, and it's only supported in Linux on like the very newest kernels. So I actually have to just do a vanilla Linux install.
Whoa!
Because even the Linux-based TrueNAS has not caught up to that support yet. And so I'm in that world now.
Brad, we should do a ranking of file systems.
I am in no way qualified to do that.
All the more reason. Anyway.
But I mean, there's the whole situation on Linux with like copy on write file systems is ridiculous because like ZFS is incredible, but it's not license compatible with Linux to the extent that they'll let it into the kernel. So that's a whole mess.
Yeah.
Like there's ButterFS, which has its own technical problems. There's Bcache FS, which sounds like it's going to be pretty great if all the hype is to be believed, but that's not quite ready. Anyway, let's move on.
Should we do an email?
Yeah, go ahead.
So let's see. Hold on. I had one and I lost it here. This is why I usually read the emails. Oh, here we go. Austin says, I am setting up a CRT TV for my old consoles in my office. Would it look better to hook up my PS2 Slim with component cables to an HDTV or with RCA cables to the CRT alongside my NES and PS1? I have to buy an RCA to coax RF modulator to connect it, and it has been 10-ish years since I've had a tube TV to compare.
Gosh, that was a lot to keep up with. So the CRT only has composite in. Is that what you're saying?
It's a PS2 Slim with component cables to an HDTV, or alternately to use the RCA cables to the CRT alongside the NES and PS1. I almost think for PS2 you're better. I mean, you probably get more lines with the component cables, but I think I'd rather have the CRT refresh rates on the PS2. Because like Parappa and stuff like that. Parappa's a PS1 game though, isn't it?
Yes. Yeah, but depending on, I can't remember if all PS2s ran PS1 games. I think they all did.
I think they all did because the audio chip was the PS1 chip, right?
Yes. Yes. I think it was for I/O. I believe the CPU of the original PlayStation was included for I/O in the PS2. Is how they got backwards compatibility there. I'm still trying to get everything straight. So when they say HDTV, I assume they're talking about a modern, like an LCD or an OLED, not a CRT.
That was my relatively modern HDTV that has component inputs. That was my assumption.
And so I assume they're saying composite / RCA is the only thing that can go into the CRT. Or wait, you said they're going through an RF converter?
I have to buy an RCA to coax RF modulator to connect it. Oh yeah, that's a real wild card. That's going to look bad. I'm
going to say that's a hard no on that one.
Yeah, I think you're right.
Well, I mean, I don't know. I'm torn. Like, if you were asking 1990, say 8, 9 me,
component at all costs, right?
I would say hell no.
Yeah,
like I got off of composite to S-video as fast as I possibly could in like the SNES era.
Yeah.
And then by the time I was on my last CRT.
You could get S-video for the SNES?
Yeah.
Just by a separate one of those weird cables?
Nintendo had that multi-out.
Oh, I didn't know
connector that. On all their, not all, I don't think the NES. Maybe the NES
had 2 RCAs. RCA for analog audio and analog video. That was it.
You got me second guessing myself.
But the SNES did have the SNES had the weird keyed, like long flat gray connector.
That's the multi-out. That was a custom Nintendo connector, but that was common to, I believe, all the way up through the GameCube, and maybe even the Wii supported that.
GameCube supported it, I believe. I don't think Wii did.
I have confirmed that I'm not insane. The SNES absolutely could do S-video.
That's cool. I didn't know that.
And then, by the time I got my last CRT had straight up component on it. So I was doing everything component that I could. But the thing I was going to say is, like, some people, it's weird. Like, you're starting to see like emulators and things that have, screen filtering to achieve the looks of old TVs.
Yeah.
Some people are seeking out the composite look because it's what they grew up with.
The kind of muddiness.
It's very fuzzy. Yeah. I remember composite being extremely fuzzy on edges and stuff.
Yeah.
And RF, if you're converting RF into that, it's going to be even worse. But again, I was going to say there's like maybe some nostalgic value to seeing stuff that way.
Well, and I was gonna say the other thing I found is that the component inputs to like the era of HD TVs that are flat screens that have component inputs, the ADC that does the analog to digital conversion there was usually so slow that anything that's latency dependent is going to be unplayable. Like you won't be able to play Guitar Hero on that monitor probably.
Yeah. So, actually, in this case, gosh, I might say go for the CRT. Of course, it's a PS2 though. That's another thing. Is like 2D consoles like Pixel, NES, SNES, Genesis era is one thing over RF and composite. Like the newer 3D consoles is quite another. I think.
I feel like going back to the PS2 and PS1 and like those early 3D consoles, I feel like some muddiness helps.
You know what? You're actually probably
a little scunge on an N64 looks okay.
Yeah, I would probably go for the CRT in this case.
Yeah, that would be my preference, I think.
Yeah. Okay. Shall I do some more Discord cues?
Yeah, turn some more cues into A's.
Man, I don't have a great answer for this, but I'm trying to think of one.
Okay.
From Sank.
So you're really selling this hard, Brad.
Oh, it's an interesting question. I just can't decide.
I mean, sometimes it's worth asking the question to spawn a conversation in the thread.
If you could send a flagship NASA mission to any space object and have it arrive in your lifetime, what object would it be and why? I think for the purposes of this experiment, we all also have to like say that the data coming back has to arrive instantly and etc.
Is the flagship mission, does that mean it's people or does that mean it's robots?
Oh gosh, I guess that's another variable here. But I think at a baseline, you have to be able to say like, I want to get all the data possible back that I can like see and appreciate and not worry about like the actual travel times, speed of light, etc. I don't know.
Well, to any space object, see, I thought this was a solar system question, not a interstellar question.
Yeah, it just says any space object. So it could be anything, which like at that point, I feel like that's maybe getting a little grandiose.
I mean, like we're talking about magic. If we're talking about sending it to any space object, having it arrive in our lifetime, but like,
if I have, I have to pick one.
The black hole in the center of the galaxy.
That's exactly what I was going to say. Sagittarius A star, the supermassive black hole at the center of the galaxy, was my first response to this question. Instantly, when I read it, like observing a black hole, or more to the point, like the effects of and the accretion disk around a black hole, I think would be my number one.
Yeah, like if we're keeping it real, I'm gonna say like Enceladus. I don't know how to say it. The moon of Saturn that has the oceans underneath, or
I think that's how you say it.
Or Europa, maybe. I don't know, one of those. I mean, Europa Clipper is a real thing that's going to happen. It seems like so.
I mean, how magical are we talking here?
I mean, we just talked about going to this black hole at the center of the galaxy. So
I mean, if I could just keep, if I could just keep going, then I would just say like, what's beyond the event horizon? That might be a little too magical for this question.
That maybe is too magical for this question, Brad. You know what? The only thing that traverses an event horizon, as Interstellar has taught us, is love.
Yes, of course.
Yeah,
of course. And future higher dimensional human beings.
Well, that was love.
Oh, well, sure.
That's where the love came in,
I guess. Yes, and space magic.
Yeah, love
and a causality paradox.
Look, it's all love. You just keep saying love, and it works out. But you don't ever say it out loud. And then you say that quote about some people just wanting to watch the world. Do not go gently into this dark night. You say that like 3 times too. That's the secret of traversing the event horizon.
Some people just want to watch the world be extruded into a single file line of atoms.
Have you seen Everything Everywhere All at Once?
No.
Oh man, you gotta watch that too. Okay. Anyway,
yeah, I should do that. We've got to get an astrophysicist onto this podcast. I know not only have I said that before, but people have offered before. It's my fault.
Oh,
like people in the Discord have offered to put us in touch with people.
Hello. You want to do a few more?
Yeah. Let's see. I have another one. I was weighing whether I should just keep babbling about space, but how about?
It is the final frontier.
Here's a question from Console Command. What personal project have you been kicking down the road the longest? Because you'll get to it eventually and haven't lost interest yet. Not really a project, but I haven't added my youngest to the will yet, and he's turning 8 this year. I'll get around to it.
Wait, didn't we do this one last month?
I don't know. This question was asked
similar to this.
Are you sure?
Maybe not.
This question was asked 3 days ago.
Okay, so we didn't do this question. I feel like this question comes up a lot. Maybe is the right way to answer. I never procrastinate anything, and I always do things the moment I think about them because I have no self-control. I don't know, actually. I just redid all the Wi-Fi stuff in the house, which was a massive quality of life improvement.
It's a good one.
I have had a mounting bracket for my TV for the living room for 14 years now.
And
still in the garage.
Wow. I
mean, I have the plasma TV. It's really fucking heavy, man.
Yeah. That's questionable.
Yeah. It's like a 65-inch plasma. I don't want to, I don't want to accidentally rip studs out of the wall.
Hey man, it's your house. They're your studs.
Yeah. But then I also have to fix them. So it's a pros and cons situation.
That is a good point. Okay. I apologize if we have answered this exact question recently, but my instant answer to this is I've got like pretty much all of the home movies that we've been able to find from my family on my NAS. I mentioned those before when people ask us like, hey, what is on there that you absolutely have to keep backed up?
Yeah.
And it's like, it's mostly VHS stuff recorded onto a VHS camcorder from the 80s, but there's like, there was an 8 or 16 millimeter reel of film that was discovered in a family member's belongings from the 50s and 60s that we got digitized. Like that's in there. There's like a couple of local news reports that I pulled off a TiVo that had to do with a World War II veteran family, a lot of stuff, like a lot of sentimental stuff. And I have been meaning for like 3 years now and it's all jam packed together. It's
all like one big long file.
If people don't remember what it was like to record home movies on VHS, it'll be like, here's Christmas 1986 for 45 minutes.
Yeah.
Smash cut into here is a dance recital from 2 years later.
Well,
and then here is like the beach 5 years after that.
And then here's a recording of like I have one of those, and like it goes from literally like my sister's dance recital, and then it's to a recording that my father did of the woman saying testicles on the nightly news instead of tentacles. And I was like, how did he know to record that? That's amazing.
Preserving the important historical record
stuff.
Anyway, like because it's such a jumble, and each one of the tapes just got captured into one file on DVD, so it's all just a mess. Like I've been meaning to go through there and just like very accurately go through and edit everything and put it in order and label it all by year and event and blah blah blah, and put all that into a custom Plex library that any of my family can stream.
So,
but turns out going through a lot of old footage of family members is very depressing.
Can I give you a pro tip?
I never get very far in that process because I'm like, man, I don't know if I can watch all of this.
I did the same. I had a similar problem a few years ago, and I just uploaded them to an unlisted YouTube channel. And then I used the YouTube scene detection to chop between them.
Interesting.
And made them into each individual, like broke them up into individual files using the YouTube video editor.
Interesting.
And it was fast and easy. And then also I didn't have to worry about what would happen if like my backups were bad or something like that. And
sure.
That relieved a lot of stress. And then I gave access to the channel to other people, and they went through and named them and stuff like that. So
interesting. Oh, that's not the worst idea. I mean, so these were ripped to DVD, and whatever outfit did it set chapter markers at the beginning of each new kind of period of time. And so, I could use something like Handbrake to rip those DVDs and have it bust out each chapter as a separate file. So I can do that part.
So the other thing I'll say is Internet Archive and Prelinger love to get old people's old home movies, especially stuff that shows like city streets and like evidence of the way things actually were versus the way we remember them and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So if you have stuff that you think is like they are always excited to get stuff that I was surprised at. So,
sure.
And they'll digitize old film strips and like 8mm reels and 16mm reels and stuff like that too for you if you send them to them.
Dude, I have to tell you, I think it was 16mm getting that footage back after they found that reel was one of the weirder experiences of my life, I think.
It's like your grandparents when they're young and stuff like that.
Yes, it's like my grandparents younger than I am. It's my mom at the age of like 6 and 7. Oh, that's like all my aunts and uncles as children. Like it's just in like pretty nice high, no sound, of course.
Yeah.
But in pretty nice high detail.
Yeah.
And it's just fucking weird.
We have some 8mm reel or 9mm, whatever the hand crank camera was of my mom when she was like 4, I think. That is just a trip because like my grandparents are walking down the mall in DC and like everything, the trees are all small and it's a trip.
That's cool.
Yeah.
In my case, this is from a very like agrarian part of the country. So it's a whole lot of like seeing how they lived.
Yeah.
Like a lot of farming stuff, a lot of like hunting.
Well, I mean, some of my grandparents grew up in like cities like London and New York, but my other side, the grandparents grew up in like rural southern North Carolina. And like they didn't have running water in the house when they were kids, right?
Yeah, my dad. So this is my mom's side of the family that recorded this because my grandpa was a technical whiz. But yeah, my dad's side of the family did not have indoor plumbing until he was like a teenager, I think.
Yeah, my great grandmother died without indoor plumbing. So the house was never plumbed. They ended up tacking a bathroom on when she was like 94 years old, so that she didn't have to go out to the outhouse anymore.
Oh, we should talk. This came up on a Nextlander podcast recently, I think. I was talking to my dad and uncle about this whole topic last time I was there, and the time that they finally dug the well to get plumbing.
Yeah.
And I'm sure you have some info about this sort of thing. They had to go 900 feet to strike water.
Holy shit, that's incredible.
It was considered a very deep well.
That is a deep well, but like my parents just dug a new well at their place and it was 600 and that was like noteworthy.
Yeah.
But they like, as Dad says, I went deeper than we needed to. Like we hit water earlier, but he wanted to get to the good water.
Yes.
900 feet's a lot though. Were they outside of a mountain or something? Billy Goat land?
Kind of. Yeah. Not the most mountainous part of the state.
Okay.
Sort of. Okay. Should we do another one? You want to talk about backup strategies? I feel like. I know we talk about it a lot. I am kind of upgrading mine.
Yeah, I have not established a good backup strategy with the new NAS yet, and I need to.
I know we talk about storage a lot, but this question follows directly from the last question, and also I'm upgrading my stuff. We'll make it quick. It's from Kento.
Mm-hmm.
Alex said on a Nextlander Ramblecast that he lost a lot of ripped music on his server, probably due to bad hard drives, and it took a while for him to re-rip everything. Do you have a backup system now, and what do you use? If you have a local backup, is it on a different or the same PC? I have over 40 terabytes of ripped music and movies.
Wow.
It terrifies me that I would have to do it all over again. I have local files. Everything backs up again on the same PC and Backblaze Online. Okay, you are more than fine.
I wish strategy. I wonder, is there a way to do Backblaze Online from the NAS, from my Synology? I need to look at that.
No. Well, yes, if you want to pay the B2 prices. But that's pretty pricey.
Yeah. So somebody else asked a question that was similar to this, like, why are we doing this on hardware in the house? And the answer,
I saw that one.
The answer is the scale. That was, I think, Joe Tavano. The answer is the scale and amount of data that I have is prohibitively expensive to do online, even with like B2 Online, which is the Backblaze cloud, which is, I think, the cheapest reputable way to store a massive amount of data.
It's the cheapest that I know of for how can I put like what's considered, I guess, storage? Kind of enterprise back. Well, like per terabyte, basically. Like to clarify, like Backblaze will let you back up a Windows or Mac machine.
Yes,
for a flat rate of like $10 a month, any size, like any amount of data.
That's what I do with my desktop.
Right, but as soon as you're from any kind of machine that's not a Mac or Windows desktop or laptop, they charge by the terabyte, and that gets real pricey.
And like Dropbox. So for example, for $25 a month. Oh, wow. Dropbox has a $25 a month plan that is as much as you need, which is new.
Huh. Really?
That's a business plan.
Well, 25 a month flat rate for unlimited storage.
I assume that there's probably some wall that you hit eventually.
Okay, but functionally limited.
But like $25 a month is this is the first time I've looked at this that there was something that was like in the right price range for competing with the NAS. 25.
Oh, you mean not have a NAS at all?
Well, I mean, that's the thing. That's the question. Do you just have a small machine that accesses the stuff in the cloud?
25 a month is a lot.
It is. Well, but when
for me,
I'm not saying the server and amortize that over the life of the server, you end up in the same kind of territory, especially when you're replacing drives every 3 or 4 years.
I mean, for me, that would be too much.
Well, I guess my point is it's probably about the same amount of money when you're just spending all at once on a non-recurring service.
That's what I mean for somebody who's not doing the insanity that we're doing.
Yeah,
that's not as bad.
Yeah.
Anyway, we don't need to get super deep into it. Maybe we'll talk about this on the Patreon episode too. But my backup strategy is a Raspberry Pi with 2 USB hard drives plugged into it.
Okay.
Which the NAS backs up to overnight, or did until it ended up in pieces.
So I do something similar. I just have a big 14 terabyte drive that gets backed up too.
Right. So the reason I bring it up is there were the Western Digital Elements drives were super cheap on Prime Day. So I grabbed 2 more.
Okay.
And I'm finally going to shuck.
Ooh.
I've just been running the ones I have in the retail enclosures.
Yeah.
But now I have 2 more of them. So I'm going to shuck all 4 of those. And there are some like pretty decent USB enclosures for multiple drives now out there. And
what file system do you use at that point? Do you use like Butter or something?
No, I'm using ZFS.
Okay.
Because I'm doing snapshot. It needs to be ZFS end because I'm sending snapshots over the network.
Okay.
But I was surprised. You can get like a nice 4-bay. It looks like a tiny little tower PC almost, like a 4-bay hard drive enclosure that's USB 3 out.
For how much?
For like $115 now.
That's not bad.
And it's like JBOD. It's just plain disks that it exposes to the OS, not like abstracted through too much drive controller. So it supposedly works with everything, all file systems.
I assume they're not super performant, but that's probably fine for this after the initial snapshot's done.
Right.
Yeah.
For a network backup that's limited to 1 gigabit already, that's fine.
Yeah. Cool.
Anyway.
I do the same thing, but I basically have like 12 terabytes of data right now, and it all fits on one 14 terabyte hard drive. When that stops working, I'll jump over that bridge when I get to it. Probably use rsync.
Yeah. rsync works too. That's what I was originally going to do until I realized that ZFS send is magic.
Yeah, I have a friend who's a photographer and does a lot of work with photos that would be impossible to recreate if they were lost. And he has basically 2 identical ZFS machines, FreeNAS machines, or TrueNAS now, that sync to each other. So he works off of one and the other one syncs and stores and they both store snapshots so he can roll back if he needs to.
Yeah, it's awesome.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm going to ask one more question here.
Yeah, that sounds good.
From Altane. When my internet company sent me a new router, I went to hook it up and wasn't looking forward to having to reset all my devices to a new password. I plugged it in and hooked it up to my incoming internet line, and suddenly it reconfigured itself to the same SSID and password as my old router, and all my stuff just worked. Is this a new normal thing? What kind of black magic network shenanigans are going on here?
So there's 2 parts, two answers and an asterisk to this question. One is that yes, ISPs typically just pull your old settings from your old router and move them to your new router if they're good at being ISPs at this point, if you're using ISP supplied hardware.
Hang on. Do you consider that being good at being an ISP, or is that creepy?
For normal human beings, that is a fantastic feature.
Yes, you're right.
Yeah.
You're right.
For people like you and me, I'm less enthusiastic. I mean, look, SSID is not privileged information.
No.
The WPA password is probably, but like also it's something that I can remember and type and it's like 10 characters. So who cares?
Yeah. Also, I mean, they probably don't have access to the actual password, like some kind of hash of it.
That would be my guess. The other thing is, having just recently switched Wi-Fi hardware, it's fascinating what stuff connects automatically if you leave if you leave the SSID and the password the same and use the same radio frequency, like you're using the same 802.11 AB, AC, whatever variant, theoretically your stuff should just reconnect the next time it reboots, it power cycles. It is fascinating to me, the stuff that does not just reconnect when you change your SSID, when you leave your SSID and password the same, but change the hardware. Because some stuff is apparently looking at MAC addresses, or it's it's more fidgety about what actually it supports the changes, like what it'll change to automatically, stuff like that. Which it seems like maybe a security thing, but it could also just be people are shitty at writing Wi-Fi connection code.
So there's a lot of variance in quality in the consumer networking space, let's say.
Yes.
Yeah, we don't need to get into it, but I've been down some rabbit holes in the past about like various kind of consumer routers that don't support things like multicast properly and stuff like that. And there's no way to know that until you like look up on forums and just find somebody saying like, yeah, the network stack on this thing sucks. This
is like, honestly, I have to buy a new refrigerator and I'm terrified because there's so many things that I don't want to have to I don't want to have to buy and return a refrigerator 4 times to find one that like the ice maker doesn't clog when you use the crushed ice thing or you know, whatever the feature is. So yeah, I'm terrified.
Buying appliances seems like a nightmare these days. The one thing I was going to say real quick, I was surprised to hear you say that it's probably the ISP storing the settings. I would have assumed it was whoever makes the router has some kind of cloud backup, like if it's ASUS or I don't know who ISPs are using for routers these days, but I didn't realize that the ISP level that was happening.
Well, so the ISP consumer routers, like my fiber router that AT&T provides is basically like a managed, it's the same thing that they provide to businesses for managed routers now. So they're provisioning just like you would a piece of, they're just provisioning consumer hardware. I don't know what's happening on the cable front because I haven't had cable in like 10 years.
Sure.
But I think that's it. I think that'll do it for us this week. I think we have enough questions to do like 2 patron episodes out of this month. I don't know. People over delivered.
People are just getting, I don't know, feeling footloose, fancy free here in the middle of summer, just asking questions left and right.
Yeah, we got mad questions. We appreciate it. Oh, God. You want to do one more?
We can't do a Q&A episode without asking a cake batter question.
Oh, yeah. There were a bunch of cake batter questions this month.
There were a lot of good cake batter questions in here. This is the one I'm going to read. Do you think I have what it takes to be a nuclear reactor technician?
Wow.
Of everyone who has ever asked me whether they have what it takes to be a nuclear reactor technician, which as of now is a sum total of 1.
Yeah.
You are the most qualified to be a nuclear reactor technician.
On a scale of cake batter to Homer Simpson, I give you 1 cake batter.
Is it possible to run a nuclear reactor out of a trash can? That's my question.
I'm gonna go and tell you, I've seen how you run a nuclear reactor. Remember, I went to the Reed reactor in Portland, and we did a video there.
I'm jealous. I need to watch that.
Running that reactor, surprisingly straightforward. There's 2 buttons.
Yeah,
with 3 buttons: up, down, and scram.
Huh.
So yeah, I think I'd heck yeah, go for it, cake batter.
Just keep your finger poised over the scram button just in case.
Yeah, if you hear weird beeping, press scram. So that'll do it for us this week. Thanks, or this month, I guess, actually. So thanks everybody for listening. We really appreciate everybody. And as always, Brad and Will Made a Tech Pod is a 100% listener supported podcast. We would like to thank all of our patrons. I'm having a hard time getting the patron list to load, including especially our executive producer tier patrons, including Andrew Slosky, Paddle Creek Games Makers of Fractured Vale, Jacob Chappell, James Kamek, Joel Krauska, Just Wedge, Octothorpe Money Crimes, Twinkie hand placed 13,000 parts. I assume that pick and place didn't work out as you were hoping. And if you would like to find out more, you can go to patreon.com/techpod. Again, that's patreon.com/techpod. It's the end of the month, though, Brad. So we also want to thank our associate producer tier patrons, including Andre M. Burke, Arthur Geese, Dave Yulian, Eric Klein, Graham Banks, Jad Rita, Jason Nealand, Jay Maybe, Nathan Phelps, Steve Lynn, Thomas Shea, and Travis Rosner. Thank you also so much. We appreciate you.
Thank you to everyone.
And I guess that'll do it for us this month. I'm going to go blow my nose. I'm snotty today. It's gross.
Oh no. Oof,
yeah, it's horrible.
We didn't even talk about your health, so I assume you're on the mend.
Yeah, we went to yesterday morning. We got up before work, also because it's like the only time you want to be outside here is from like 7 o'clock to 8:30, and we went to the Living Desert, which is a fantastic like desert zoo. So we saw like African painted dogs and walked around the zoo, and like my daughter and I were both reasonably okay during that entire thing. But by the end of 2 hours of walking around, like at 8:30, we were like, we got to get the hell out of here. My legs are tired. And then I came back and worked for a little while and took a nap in the afternoon and went for a swim. So that's feeling much better. It turns out
pretty nice. Yeah.
Having regular, easy access to swimming is awesome.
It's the dream.
I don't know, like just barely dipping into the amount of hassle that maintaining a pool is, as somebody who's like, I might be okay.
Sure.
Like it seems like a lot.
It's a nice pool. It's a nice pool to visit, but you wouldn't want to live there.
Look, it's always better to have a friend with a pool than to have a pool yourself.
True words.
Yeah. See y'all next week. Have a good one, everybody.